Hey guys, welcome back for break. We're super stoked to be back into the groove of things. Just a couple of announcements for you. This is your last week to get signed up for the winter retreat, so make sure you do that before Thursday. And then there are special news being revealed at the retreat, so you want to make sure that you're there. So that means that we won't have house groups on the 20th, and they will resume again on the 27th.
Okay, perfect. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Seth, and I am the campus pastor resident at Rocky. Some of you guys have seen me or talked to me, but I know that some of you guys haven't. This is my first time on camera. And we are jumping into a brand new series called Tough Questions, where we're thinking about some of the hard questions that you guys might have, or that people in our church have had, or that we've just been asked, and trying to jump into those and answer those to the best of our abilities and quickly for you guys, okay? When I got this task of answering a tough question for you guys, I actually had a hard time of thinking of a tough question that I think you guys might have. I asked one of the pastors on staff, hey, what do you think is a good tough question? And the question that he came up with is Jesus really the only way to God? And I was like, wow, that is a really good question. Because a lot of people have that question. I remember one time when I was a sophomore in college, I just recently became a Christian, probably 8 or 9 months earlier, and I was still studying to be a dentist, and there was a girl that lived in my apartment complex. Her name was Bria. She would come down and hang out with us. But anyway, she came down one night, and we were asking her about, my roommate and I were asking her about religion and what she believed, and I remember she said, I just believe in tolerance. I just believe in everything. Everybody's religion is good if it works for them. And that's what I want to believe. And that might sound good on the surface, I think, but I'm not exactly sure when I read the scriptures if that's exactly what Jesus said. So what we're going to be answering today is are all religions the same? And if not, which one is the true one? And why should I believe that this is the one true religion? First of all, if we want to actually understand what Jesus says, is he the only way to heaven? Is he the only way? We have to look in the Bible. In John chapter 14, verse 6, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes through the Father except through me. So right off the bat, Jesus lays down the law and says, hey, if you want to get to heaven, if you want to get to the Father, you have to go through me. And that's one thing. Here's the thing. All religions, some people will say all religions are good. They're equally good. They all lead to the same place. All roads lead to heaven. But is that actually true? If you actually look into these separate great world religions, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, Mormonism, you'll realize that can't be true because all of them contradict each other. There's only one of two things that can be true. Either they're all false or one of them is true. Jesus says in John chapter 8, verse 48, before Abraham was, I am. And the significance of this is that by saying he is greater than Abraham, he is claiming to be equal to God. And that's why directly after that, the Pharisees pick up stones to kill Jesus. They wouldn't kill Jesus if he was just saying, yeah, I'm a prophet, or I'm great, or I'm a good teacher. They pick up stones because he is claiming to be equal to God. So that's who Jesus thinks he is. He thinks he's God. And he also says that only through him can you get to the Father. So did Jesus really claim to be God? Because that's who we think he is. But if you understand who God calls himself, you can understand who Jesus calls himself. See, way back in the Old Testament, the book of Exodus, Moses is talking to the burning bush. And we all know that story. And when he asks the burning bush, who is God, who are you? God says, I am that I am. So then we jump forward to the book of John, and the Pharisees say to Jesus, hey, who are you? Are you claiming to be like as good as Abraham? And Jesus says, actually, before Abraham was, I am. And in saying that, he's claiming to be equal to God. And that's why directly after that passage, the Pharisees pick up stones to kill Jesus. They wouldn't have killed Jesus if he was only claiming to be a prophet or a great teacher or a rabbi. They pick up stones because Jesus is claiming to be God. That's who Jesus claims to be. That's one thing to claim that, but does anybody believe it? See, C.S. Lewis says that Jesus can only be one of three things. He's either a liar, because he claimed to be God. He's either a lunatic, because he's obviously insane. He thinks he is literally God on earth. Or he's Lord. He is who he says he is. And the evidence shows that Jesus really is who he says he is. See, all of his disciples died believing that Jesus was God, believing that Jesus really died and rose again. See, some people will die for what they believe is true, even though it might be false, but nobody dies for what they know to be a lie. If his disciples knew Jesus said he was God, but he totally isn't, he died, we didn't see him, we were just lying this whole time, they would not die for that. And the rise of early Christianity cannot be explained unless these people truly believed what they saw. If somebody claims to be God, it's happened a lot. It's happened a lot throughout history. Still today, people claim to be God. But until that person can die and then come back and still claim to be God, I'm not going to believe them. But since Jesus does, he claims one thing, dies, comes back and still claims it, and says, listen, I am the only way. He is trustworthy, and you can put your trust in him. There's so much evidence to support that not only did Jesus die, but he came back. And the entire book of John, the entire New Testament is riddled with Jesus claiming to be equal to God. See, if you met somebody that said that they thought they could literally fly and they were going to jump off of a building, would you let them do it just because you didn't want to impose on what they believed about themselves? Of course not. You want to save that person, right? You want to take them off and be like, listen, you're wrong. It's not true. You can't fly. Maybe in a nicer way. We should do the same thing to people who claim to believe all religions are equal. Listen, every religion is not equally true. They can all be false, but they can't all be true. And that's what we have to realize. And as Christians, we believe that ours is the only one. And to have compassion for people of other beliefs and to love people that believe other things is to also call them and say, hey, let's talk about what you believe. What is the evidence for what you believe, and why do you believe it? So the question we're left with is, how do we approach people that we know that have this view that all religions are equally coherent and all religions all lead us to the same exact place? And the best answer is actually found throughout the entire New Testament with Paul. See, Paul is consistently talking to people of either other religions or no religions, and he does it with what we call truth and grace. So he doesn't shy away from the facts that Jesus is the only way to heaven. He believes that and he teaches that, but he does it in a loving way. And that's how he tells us to interact with other people as well. So you may have friends that believe something completely different than you, and it's not loving in the long run for you to ignore that and just let them keep going. It's just like letting somebody jump off of a building because they think they can fly. But you don't have to be mean, and you don't have to lord your intelligence over them or act smarter than them, but interact with them in a way that's graceful yet truthful and loving. Let them know that this is all out of love. Be tactful and respectful of what they believe, but also understand that what we believe to be true and what the evidence shows is true and factual is that there is one way to heaven, and that is through Jesus Christ. So my challenge for you guys, and not just for the next week or the next month, but for the rest of your lives, because you're consistently going to be introduced to people that don't know the gospel or have different beliefs or have no beliefs, is to find these people and build a relationship with them. Because that's the best way to speak truth into somebody's life, is if you have a relationship with them already. Most of you guys are in a public school and you're surrounded by people that have no beliefs or totally different beliefs than you. I bet as Christians, you guys are the minority in your school. And that is a huge opportunity for each and every single one of you to meet somebody and have a discussion. You don't have to be creepy, and you don't have to be weird, and you don't have to be overbearing. You don't even have to bring it up right away. This can be something that you plan to talk about, and it might not happen for months at a time, and that's fine. The idea is a relationship, and not only for the sake of a relationship, but for the sake of eternity, and that's what's at stake here. So my challenge to you, like I just said, is to think about this, find people that are different than you and believe differently than you, and build this relationship and have these tough discussions with them.